8 Shaheds in just a few hours of work. That's how many enemy targets were destroyed by just one air defense crew in the Kiev region. This happened during one of the largest Russian attacks on the capital. And also, the crew operating the Soviet-made Tunguska anti-aircraft system worked with maximum efficiency and told TSN correspondent Yulia Kyrienko what tricks the Russians are using to counter our air defense, whether they succeed, and what air defense forces are now doing to prevent hundreds of Russian attack drones from reaching Ukrainian cities and villages. More on this in her report.
Far from urban developments, closer to the routes where Shaheds approach, a Ukrainian air defense combat vehicle heads out on duty. Even during the day in the Kyiv region, the air raid siren sounds, so the crew prepares to intercept targets. Lately, there have been too many of them.
You could say they have lost their fear.
The vehicle raises its radar, looking as if it's spreading its wings.
Right now, the targets are kind of avoiding us a bit.
All 8 missiles are loaded, plus there's extra ammo in the cannon. That's enough to shoot down both Shaheds and missiles. This crew destroyed 8 Shaheds in just one combat duty shift. Here, in these shots, you can see their work against several targets, and a third of them were rockets. That's a record haul for these air defense fighters. They say they had to reload the vehicle right in the middle of the action. Missiles had to be brought in several times. Interestingly, despite the wide variety of foreign equipment in our air defense forces, it is the Tunguska combat vehicle, dating back to before Ukraine gained independence, that is best able to intercept Russian Shaheds even at altitudes of 5 kilometers. Russian Shaheds only recently started flying at such high altitudes, but they have already become unreachable for some types of weapons that previously could intercept them.
2 Shaheds are flying, one at 3 kilometers, the other at 1 kilometer. The one at 1 kilometer is basically a decoy, drawing all the attention to itself, while the other one slips through.
The Tunguska is still able to handle this change in enemy tactics, the soldiers say. Even when not just one Shahed but an entire swarm is flying, it doesn't let us down.
Sometimes it happens that 2 targets fly closely side by side, and in such instances we can effectively destroy both at once.
We work on them, we shoot down more than half, but still, you can't manage to shoot them all down, because they fly in all directions and scatter.
This missile and anti-aircraft system has a foreign counterpart, the German Gepard anti-aircraft gun. It is also working to protect the Ukrainian sky. But the commander of the Tunguska says that although this one is old, it means it's reliable because it can lock onto targets at altitudes that not all foreign equipment is capable of.
There are many potential targets that the Gepards might not readily perceive, but this advanced machine certainly does. When the incoming target approaches the shell's trajectory, the shells themselves are highly explosive and are designed to precisely detonate right above the target, effectively hitting it with a devastating burst of shrapnel.
The Russians' tactics have changed over the past few months. In addition to swarms of Shaheds that they launch simultaneously, there are also many decoys, the soldiers say. They simply distract our air defense, even though they don't carry any explosives. Moreover, they enter Ukrainian territory at high altitudes where they are not easily reachable by the main means of defense.
They used to fly along a single trajectory for the most part, but now they scatter, flying chaotically, approaching from all directions, from every side.
But as they get closer to the target, they fly as low as possible so that Ukrainian radars don't detect them. However, the defense forces have found a solution. Interceptor drones which shoot down up to half of enemy targets right at the border.
When it started to be 400 plus, and now it's even 500 plus, it's no longer a surprise for us. They help a lot, especially closer to the border.
There are 2 Artems working in the crew of this combat vehicle.
Here is the precise spot for the next Shahed drone or for an incoming missile.
Both are from Shoska. They joined the unit together back in 2022. They met on the bus that was taking them from the military enlistment office to training. One of them even came back from abroad where he was working just to join the military.
I knew exactly why I was going.
Why?
Because there's a war going on. My city was surrounded. There was absolutely nothing at all to eat at home, and the entire city was basically starving at that particular time. So I decided that I would definitely go.
Do you regret it now?
No, just...
Another one joined as soon as the occupiers retreated from Shostka. Over the years of war, both of them have hundreds of downed targets to their name. However, there are moments for this crew when they see a target but choose not to fire in order to save lives.
We assess in which direction we can operate. That is, sometimes even if, say, a drone flies by, we understand that even though it was in the strike zone, we have no right to shoot there because there are houses and civilians.
But this is rare. because the air defense fighters do everything possible to destroy the enemy target as far away from residential areas as possible before the drones reach our cities. Yulia Kyrienko, Andriy Romanok, Victoria Pismena, TSN 1+1 Marathon United News.
Strikes on infrastructure and residential neighborhoods. Overnight, the Russians struck Ukraine's frontline regions. One woman was killed and another injured as a result of enemy attacks on Zaporizhzhia. Over the course of the day, the occupiers carried out 474 strikes on the region. In Primorsk, a woman was killed by a strike drone. And at night, Russian Shaheds struck residential neighborhoods in Zaporizhzhia. Several private houses burned down completely. Rescuers continue to extinguish the fires. The woman who was injured received medical assistance. In the Sumy region, 3 people were injured by Russian shelling. The village of Ulyanivka was attacked by a Molnia drone. A local resident sustained multiple injuries. In the Bilopilia community, 2 rescuers were injured while responding to a fire. An attack drone dropped explosives on them. 2 wounded, fires and destruction. 2 districts in the Dnipropetrovsk region came under fire. The enemy attacked Nikopol with artillery and FPV drones. A hospital, a gymnasium, a church, and a business were damaged. A dormitory was hit, along with 4 apartment buildings, private houses, a garage, and a car. In the Khrushchevsky community in Kryvyi Rih, the enemy attacked with drones. A fire broke out. For the 3rd day, Kyiv rescuers deal with aftermath of attack on Cabinet of Ministers building. Ukrainian and foreign journalists saw the government building. The roof and 2 floors of the right wing are destroyed. Completely. Emergency workers are using heavy cranes to dismantle the collapsed floors and structures. 2 floors below is the hall for government meetings and the Prime Minister's office, where they were damaged but only partially. These rooms were not shown to journalists. At the site of the fire response, bomb disposal experts are still finding remnants of the Russian missile. According to preliminary data, it was an Iskander. The ballistic missile with a cluster munition did not detonate, and the fire broke out due to the ignition of rocket fuel.
Firefighting was complicated by the fact that there were a lot of wooden structures in the building's elements. The flames spread very quickly. There was a high fire load from the very beginning. And this was already the 7th location in Kiev. DSNS units were already working at 6 other sites, so the buildup of forces and resources was carried out in stages.
A woman who was injured as a result of the strike in the Sviatoshinsky district of Kiev has given birth to a son. The mother herself remains in serious condition. On the night before Sunday, a Shahed drone struck a 9-story building in a residential district of the capital. One of the injured was a 24-year-old pregnant woman. Doctors performed an emergency delivery and she gave birth to a son. Rescue operations at this location have already been completed. The broken windows were covered with plastic film or wooden panels. Along with utility workers, residents of the damaged buildings also joined in cleaning up the courtyard. Representatives of the local authorities are expected to meet with the victims to discuss compensation payments.
They got involved simply because they live right here. Our children walk here.
We will finish very soon the emergency repair work, because almost all the dangerous structures we have already cut and removed. And we are trying to ensure that not only utility services, but also the relevant commission and the people who live here can access their premises as soon as possible.
A fuel crisis for Russians after Ukrainian strikes on oil refineries. In occupied Crimea, gasoline prices have surged. The cost of fuel used to fill cars has increased by 10% over the past month. Drivers from the peninsula say that now there are no alternatives, so they have to spend more. Residents of Zabaikalsky Krai and the Far East are also experiencing higher prices and a shortage of gasoline. In some places, fuel is being distributed with ration cards. The authorities cite seasonality as the reason for the price increase and assure that everything is under control. However, the fact that the situation is critical is evidenced by the Kremlin's complete ban on gasoline exports since July in an attempt to prevent shortages. Let me remind you, since the beginning of August, Ukrainian forces have been systematically striking oil refineries.